It's great to be here again to share my new presentation, My Autistic Life 2. I'm Matthew Krastel. It's great to be here to share it with your class. So before I talk about my autistic life as an adult, I want to share with you guys just a re-review of what autism is. Autism is a treatable neurological spectrum disorder affecting between 1 to 150 children, youth, and adults in BC alone. People who see things differently than other people, like me, there's people like that out there. And there's also autistic people who may struggle with learning something new. That's another reason why I got diagnosed with autism. So after my high school life, I started working at a place, it was called Lowe's at the time, which is now Rona Plus. Since July of 2016 was when I started. And then in November 2023, that's when we changed our name to Rona Plus. It's a great place to work, and I've been with the company for 9 years now. So now I'm going to start talking about what it's like being in adulthood life. So 7 months after I started working at my job, I was just almost 19 years old. I was still 18 at the time. I moved out of my parents' home and I live in my own home alone. It's nice to live on your own place without your parents, but there's one question that really comes into my mind that I think about all the time. Is it good to live alone, or is it good to live with other people? You know, which is better? The reason I think of that question is because I know a lot of people who are my age who are living with what they call roommates. So what roommates are people who live with you who aren't in your immediate family household. So it could be a friend like you know right here from school. Maybe one day you might live with one of your friends when you reach adulthood age. I've never experienced that before, but one day it might be me one day. You never know. Everybody's very different.
Yeah, and being different, all different types. There are some people that have autism that live on their own and are in their own places. Other people with autism might need someone to live with them, or some other people with autism might continue to live at home for a lot longer than other people. So different support needs.
That's right. And it's been 8 years since I've lived on my own, and it's so good to live on my own, even 8 years later. Okay, so my hobbies and what I like to do in my spare time. Of course, you all have hobbies that you enjoy doing. For me, I really enjoy shopping at thrift stores. I've been shopping at thrift stores for many years. I also like to see trains. I'm a big train guy. I like to do what people call rail fanning, which is just filming trains in different areas of the world. And I like to go around BC just to see trains. And I've seen some legendary trains in real life that you would see in calendars and professional photos. And I also collect what they call singing fish, and I actually brought one here today to show you. Do you recognize one of these?
Yes, I've seen those.
The big mouth Billy bass. I don't have batteries in it to play it, but imagine a house where I live right now that has about 140 of these singing fish in the house.
On a wall.
On a wall. If I mount it,
What type of battery does
that's what it looks like.
What type of battery do you use?
I use the C batteries. Yeah, that's what my wall's like. Just many of these and other different singing fish. They sing songs, and they're actually better than photos on the wall. I'm sorry, that's just boring.
And don't you have lobsters?
And I have lobsters too. They won't attack or snap you, I promise. I've been collecting those ever since I've moved out. I also like to connect with friends, of course, because I'm pretty well known in Nanaimo. I could probably be the mayor maybe 40 years down the road if I wanted to, because I just know a lot of people and I like to connect with people a lot. And I also like traveling around this country. I like staying in hotels, going on many different adventures in many different cities. And here's another hobby I like. Hopefully you see this photo okay. This is me at a fire hall in Courtney. I really like fire engines, and I got to get a picture in front of this fire engine in Courtney and get a tour around the Courtney Fire Hall. And they actually have the largest fire engines on Vancouver Island. Even their ladder truck is the longest ladder truck you would have ever seen. And it was a neat experience to explore that hall, because even for a small town, they have a big hall. It's a really nice picture I was able to take. This was taken back last year.
And I'm pretty sure most of the firefighters and a lot of the RCMP officers know who you are in town.
Well, not the police.
Okay, our fire hall for sure.
The fire departments, yes. Here in Nanaimo, yeah, they're family to me. And I'm happy to call them family to me, because my mom works for Fire Academy. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's like living alone. So you have a lot of responsibilities you have to do every day. Think about it, like your parents are taking care of you every single day. But how do they do it? Well, things include doing your own laundry, cooking your own meals, buying your own groceries, and paying all your bills on time. That's true. So your parents, they pay for your groceries, and they do your laundry, and they cook meals for you every day, and paying bills, and paying for what you want too. But as an adult, you have to be more responsible to do it. And the reason what I mean by paying your bills on time is paying for bills that you have for your place. So for example, BC Hydro, which is your electricity bill, if you don't pay your BC Hydro bill on time, I wouldn't get lights here right now. It would be pitch black, no power, nothing. It's like a power outage. So that's what happens if you don't pay your bills on time. And I'm thankful I pay my bills on time. So I've been able to survive throughout living on my own and never had to go through any issues. And also I feel like having lots of freedom, and you might feel that way too when you all become adults, to do whatever you want to do at home and also go wherever you want to go.
I imagine though, did it take some time to learn all those skills, like cooking your own meals, buying your own groceries, and paying your own bills?
Cooking meals, no.
Oh,
The reason is because I cooked well before I moved out.
See, there you go. You guys have to start practicing.
Well, guess what? Why don't one day when you go home, maybe ask your mom or dad, whoever cooks for you at home, why don't you help them cook? Maybe. You'll have to learn one day. Okay. So something you got to think about, because everyone has to learn one day, and I learned early, which is great because it helped me learn to cook a lot of fancy food that I like. And also, you may also feel left out sometimes and alone. And that can be a happy thing, or it could be a sad thing. There's days where I like to spend days on my own, just by myself for a full day. Or there may be days where I'll want to hang out with somebody I know or with family. There are some days where I'm like that. Everybody's like that some days.
And just something to know a little bit about people who might be autistic is that sometimes social pieces can be harder. So knowing what the right thing to say to another person is, or asking a person to play, or finding out about common interests. Sometimes people would like to really, really talk about themselves, but it's that next piece of finding out what other people are interested in. That can be a little bit harder for some people with autism. Not for everybody, but for some people. So the being alone part, and alone versus people, it's kind of, it's harder to put yourself out there in that social aspect. So.
That's right. All right, so I'm going to talk now about pubs. I know probably if you're driving around the city and you go by a place which it says a pub, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Of course, you have to be 19 years of age or older to go to a pub, but it's pretty much like a restaurant because they have great food. But more importantly, the difference between a restaurant and a pub is restaurants, it's more just a place where you just eat something. But in a pub, you also might experience fun activities, which could include karaoke, music poker, music trivia, open mic nights, or something else. There's more to it that some pubs do. I like karaoke, and I go to a pub every week that does karaoke because I'm a pretty decent singer. So it's a really great experience to know people that do karaoke as well and connect with more people in that type of karaoke community.
And I think so what you're saying is that you use pubs as your way of meeting new people and your social activities.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So you guys have things here, like maybe sports or school or the playground, where you can find common interests with somebody. As you get to be an adult, that's a little bit harder if you don't have sports and stuff that you do. So Matthew's found some cool things to do around town where he gets to meet people, and the same people kind of come to the same places all the time. So he likes to do the social aspects that happen to be at a pub.
Right. Yeah, and there's so many other pubs around Canada that do karaoke as well, but you just gotta find it. You just gotta find the right pub that does the right events for your interest. But you can think about that when you reach the age of 19. But also, it's a good place to celebrate your birthday. And ever since I turned 19, every year on my birthday, I always celebrate in a pub because it's a great place to connect with the friends that you've known and do something that you like to do. And I like doing birthday parties for karaoke nights. And I have one coming up in a few weeks because my birthday is next month. So it's very exciting for me to do this with a whole bunch of people that I know and those who care for me. Okay, so I'm going to now talk about traveling and vacationing alone. So, of course, if you were to go on a vacation alone, again, you have to be 19 years of age or older to take a vacation. The most difficult vacation I ever did was traveling to Edmonton by myself. So one province over all by myself. I've never left BC on my own until September of last year. I rode the train called Via the Canadian, which is one of the legendary trains I've ever seen. Yeah, I got to ride it from Vancouver all the way to Edmonton in just over 24 hours. It was a really great trip, and even just Edmonton in general was a nice trip to explore on my own, and it really required a lot of research and planning, but I was able to do it with no issues. And I also like to, the more common places I like to visit is anywhere in the Lower Mainland. Vancouver, Metro Vancouver, those type of areas. I really enjoy visiting because there's always train stuff going on in the Lower Mainland every day. And there are days where I'll see some trains that I might not ever see again because there's a lot of rare locomotives I like to see that are in the Lower Mainland, if I'm lucky. All right, so coming out in identity. So what I mean by this is for many people who are autistic, like myself, they may question their identity sometime in the future. Some people may also find that they feel more comfortable in the LGBTQ plus community. So that's a group where there's people who like the same person of their gender, or the same person, like for example, some families might have just a mother and a mother, and some families might just have a father and a father with kids. So those are two examples of what LGBTQ plus communities are people in those type of communities. And there's also Pride, which June is Pride Acceptance Month. And it's a organization where people form together to connect with more people in that community. And I'm hoping, because last year I took part in the Pride Parade in Nanaimo last year, and I'm hoping to take part in the parade again this year, which is coming up in June. So it's a very exciting experience to connect with more people that are the same as me. So I'm going to now talk about some mixed emotions I've had in my adulthood life. There were a few times in the past where I've had nights where I almost decided to take my own life. There was so many emotions I've had, it wasn't every day, thankfully, but I've had a few times over the years since I was 18 where I just didn't want to live anymore. It was very emotional for me because I was going through so many thoughts at that stage. But the good thing was I didn't actually do it because I realized a lot of people I know really care and accept me for who I am. And it took me time to get the message, but then I realized the one thing: people need me because I'm important to people to share my life with autism to you students, but other schools as well and other adults. But the most important thing is people just don't need me, but more importantly, we all need you. All the teachers need you. Your family needs you. All your friends need you, because I'm sure all your friends care about you, and all of your family cares about you, but the teachers care about you because you teachers want to make sure that you students get a good education and good careers ahead of you.
And also loving and accepting each other for who we are. I think that's a big part of that.
That too.
You know, sometimes it can feel lonely to feel like you have a brain that's different than everybody else. And so sometimes you feel frustrated by that. But just know that there's a whole group of people out there that love you.
Yeah.
Care about you just the way you are.
Yeah.
It was something about the pups. There is actually one that is sort of like a pup that does an open mic, that you don't have to be 19 to go. It's called White Sails. That's the one.
Yeah, I've heard of that place.
Yeah, it's the one that I know they have an open mic, and basically they allow people in it, even if you're under 19 or over 19.
Any other questions we're going to take? Matthew will take in just a few minutes.
Yeah. So, and of course, if you ever feel that way in your future, help and advice is always available, but more importantly, your friends are available. You just let someone know. If you're not feeling the greatest, get help from a friend you know. And that's what happened to me. I never had to call any phone number for help or nothing. I did it all by myself. All right, so I'm going to talk about autism acceptance and why it's important. So, of course, this month is National Autism Acceptance Month. It promotes not just the education about the differences of people with autism, but also it's understanding and respecting those people too. And it's also a means to affirm and promote the full realization of all human rights and the fundamental freedoms for autistic people on an equal basis with other people, and to be better equipped to advocate for the rights and needs of individuals who are on the autism spectrum, and last but not least, has a huge impact on education and employment opportunities. So what that means is anyone that has autism can easily be able to find a job in their future that they can enjoy. Like for me, working at Rona Plus for 9 years, and I'm happy I never had to switch jobs because I enjoy what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit of some stages of autism acceptance. So there's 4 different types. There's one called denial, bargaining, anger and depression, and acceptance. There's 4 different types, and some of you may think about these and think that you might be going through them now, but it may take you time to think about those 4 stages. Sometimes for me, I sometimes feel like going through 3 stages sometimes all at once, sometimes mixed around. But more importantly, my stage I go through all the time is acceptance, because I accept people for making sure they accept me for who I am, and I accept those who have autism as well, and more importantly, those who respect the LGBTQ community as well, and respects the pride culture. So again, not everyone goes through these stages in the same order, but some may cycle through them multiple times, but it may take longer for you people to enjoy the stages, to experience it. It may take you time. So just to finish off, there's two big questions I want you students to think about for a while. The first question is, what are your plans for your future after high school? So what I mean by that is, what are your plans for your future after you finish grade 12? And the last one is, how can you show autism acceptance in this school community? Those are two big questions I want you students to think about for a while, and maybe you might be able to answer that question in the future. So now is the time where if anyone has questions regarding the presentation, this would be the time now.
I have two.
Yep.
The first question, what age did you figure out what you had autism?
Well, I was 2.5 years old when I got diagnosed with autism, but I didn't know much about me having autism until much later in life. But I didn't really start sharing my life with autism until I was almost graduating high school.
And my dad also works for a firefighter who works in the Rocky View one.
That's great. Yeah, sure.
When you were in school, Matthew, what were some of the things that were really hard and what were some of the things that were really easy for you?
I would say the most difficult thing, not just in school level, but even in at adulthood level, is I used to feel left out all the time. But of course, I find the right groups of people, and high school, of course, was tough to find groups. But even as an adult, pardon me, it's kind of easy to find groups because they have certain topics that matches what you're looking for interests. Like I joined a pride group, a queer group, pardon me, is what it's called, back in October, and it's a great group of people that have similar interests as me. But there are some times where I go to pubs and I feel left out a lot. So I think that's more of like the worst part sometimes when I'm in a pub, no matter where I go. Sometimes I may feel like an inconvenience sometimes. So what I mean by inconvenience is sometimes I feel like I cause too much trouble around people, no matter where I am. There are some days I feel like that, but I don't tell it to many people, but that's personally how I feel. Do you have a question on the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
How hard was it for you to get through high school?
It was pretty straightforward. As long as you pay attention in class, do your homework, because I enjoy doing homework, and just survive in passing your tests and try to get straight A's. And that's what happened with me when I was in grade 12. I got straight A's.
And Matthew was also really involved in the school community, so he did a lot of volunteer work at Wellington.
Yeah.
And they created an award, and it was an award for school spirit, and Matthew got the first award. He was the first name on that plaque, so it's been, and our friend Quinn got it last year.
That's right.
I know, it was so cool.
If you remember, if you saw me present here last school year, my Autistic Life, I was talking about that. So I don't know if some of you students will remember me from last school year, but that's exactly what I was talking about last school year. Thanks for bringing that up.
There were quite a few kids who saw you last year, so
Yes.
when they heard you were coming again, they were so excited.
Oh, were they?
Really thank you for being here and sharing.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Last call for any more questions on the presentation? No one else?
Thank you so much, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you guys say to Matthew?
Yeah, you're welcome.
One more question. I'm
Oh.
because I think I might have a new collection I'd like to start for.
Uh-oh.
Where does one go to buy singing fish and lobster? Where do you get them?
Thrift stores.
No way, really?
I'll beat you at Value Village for one.
That's so cool. You get ultimate thrift stores.
Yeah. Some I even bought online. But yeah, it took me a lot of work to create that collection, and even also this presentation took me almost 7 months to complete, because it's been 10 years now presenting.
And he
it's
has
now
a
been.
video on his YouTube channel of all of his singing fish singing at one time.
What?
Yeah,
No,
I do.
YouTube channel called
Okay.
I'd like to see that.
Okay, well, what I'm gonna do,
With it on.
well, what I'm gonna do, yeah, I'm gonna give out some information cards, like brand new information cards. You're the first school that gets the new ones. Isn't that exciting?
I think I still have the one from last year.
Well, what if you see this one? This one's new. So you can see my YouTube later, maybe after school. But I'm also really thrilled to say that this is the first school that got to see this new presentation, my Autistic Life 2, after 10 years of presenting. I'm very thankful to be here to share it to this school for the first time. And I'm very thankful after 7 months of hard work and getting an exam test on it. Sure, I scored an A+ now after all of this. Thank you. Thank you very much again. Hopefully I can share in more schools soon. But I hope you students and teachers have a good rest of your day.
Oh, thank you. You know what's happening, Matthew, is that so the bell's going to ring in 1 minute.
Oh, really?
We'll have one chance to give you a round of applause, and then
Oh.
would you like the kids to come up?
Yeah, oh, there you go. Okay.
Bell, 1 second. We're not leaving. First, big round of applause.
Yeah, thank you.
Just before I begin, so Matthew has come to the school. He's come to the school other years as well, except this year he kind of revamped his presentation. So he is coming to present to you because April is Autism Acceptance Month, and so there's quite a few people in our school who happen to have autism, and quite a few people that you probably have met out in the community that also have autism, and Matthew will tell you a little bit more about it. But autism is a spectrum, so you can see some people that have high support needs with autism and they need a lot of extra help. And then you can see people in our community that have lower support needs, which means they don't need as much help as others do. And Matthew is an adult that happens to have autism. He's gone through our school system and graduated from one of our local high schools here in town. And I met Matthew we think it's about 10 years ago now.
Almost.
Yeah. So he went to Wellington High School, and the school I used to work at was really close to Wellington. So he came down and did a presentation to my other school about autism and just what it's like growing up and as a person that happens to have autism. Because autism is it's a neurological developmental condition, so it happens to impact your brain and your communication skills. And so Matt's going to talk a little bit about it. He redid his presentation this year, and so he's just doing it for some intermediate classes this year. So he's trying it out for the first time. So I hope you'll be a really good audience for him.
Want you to trip on anything.
All right, very good. Good afternoon, students. How are you all doing? Very good, very good. So like you said, I'm Matthew Krastel, and I'm very excited this year to share my brand new presentation that took me a long time to do, called my Autistic Life Part 2. So just before I go into that, I want to give a re-review of what autism is. So autism is a treatable neurological spectrum disorder affecting between 1 to 150 children, youth, and adults in BC alone. Most people that have autism see things differently than other people. That's one reason why I got diagnosed with autism. And also people who may struggle with learning something new. Like with me, it was tough for me to learn new things at times and get used to things. So after high school life, I started working at Lowe's, which is now called Rona Plus, since July of 2016 was when I started. But in November of 2023, we changed the name to Rona Plus. All right, so entering adulthood life. So 7 months after working at my job, I moved out of my parents' home and I live alone at my own place. I moved out when I was 18 years old, and I still live alone to this day. I never had to move back into my parents' house. But there's one question that always comes into my mind every time, and it's where I think about living alone or living with other people. You know, which is better? That's a tough question I always think about a lot, because I know a lot of people now that are my age who live with what they call roommates. So what roommates are people that aren't in your immediate family household. So like friends you're with right now, there are people out there who live with friends that they know for a long time.
And not everybody with autism can move into their own apartment. Some people with higher support needs may not live by themselves sometimes.
That's true. All right, so my hobbies and what I like to do in my spare time. I like shopping at thrift stores. It's the one place I really like to look around no matter what city I'm in. I've been a thrift shopping person for many, many years. I also like seeing trains and what people call rail fanning. I go around a whole lot of places around BC, going out to see many different trains. I've even seen some legendary trains in real life over the years that you might see in calendars or in professional photos. And I also like collecting what I call singing fish, and I actually brought a prop today to show you what it's like. Do you recognize one of these? Yeah. The big mouth billy bass. Yeah, I collect these. I got close to, I actually have 140 of these.
That's a lot.
Imagine this on a wall. That's what it's like in my place.
So one of the traits of autism often is that people have special interest areas. So you know how you kind of like Lego, but somebody with autism might like really like Lego, and they don't ever let up on that favorite thing. So some of these are some of Matt's special interest areas that he's had for a really long time, and he enjoys doing.
That's right. And I started collecting these just only a month after I moved out of my parents' home, and my grandfather actually had this, and that's what gave me the interest, because I found so many of these in Value Village, which is a thrift store, and yeah, there's so many of these and other different type of fishes on my wall.
And I think one time he turned them all on at the same time.
Yes.
So that they would all sing together.
I have videos on my YouTube of that you can watch later. But not right now though.
And what was the new one that's part of that same family that you started collecting?
Oh, I also collect lobsters.
Lobster, yeah.
There's even singing lobsters in my collection too.
What?
Okay, so another thing I like to do in my spare time is I like connecting with friends. I'm actually pretty well known in Nanaimo, so maybe 30, 40 years down the road, I might even become future mayor if I connect with that many friends. And I also like traveling, only around this country, because I like Canada. It's a great country. Because I really like staying in hotels and going on different adventures.
Karaoke?
And karaoke, which I will talk about a little bit in a few minutes.
And I think you're well connected with the fire department.
And that's right. Yeah, I got a picture here. This is another hobby I like. I do like fire engines a lot too. And this is actually taken in Courtenay. Last May, I was visiting the fire hall in Courtenay, and I got to get a picture in front of one of their fire engines. And they actually got the biggest fire engines on Vancouver Island, including the ladder truck, which is the longest truck I've ever seen. But that was probably the best picture I ever took from last year visiting a fire hall, because I visited multiple fire halls along Vancouver Island and in BC. All right, so circling back to living on my own, you may think, what is it like to live alone without your parents? Well, you have lots of responsibilities you have to do every day, and the things include doing your own laundry, cooking your own meals, buying your own groceries, and paying all your bills on time. Now, if you think about this now, what do your parents do every day? They focus on those. Doing your laundry, cooking your own meals for you, buying your own groceries for you and them, and the bills that they have to pay on credit cards, but more importantly, a bill called the BC Hydro bill. So if you don't pay your BC Hydro bill on time, what happens? You don't get electricity or lights Nothing. You can't even get your computer to work. So I always paid my bills on time, which I'm thankful for. I never had to deal with overdue payments.
And do you think that as a person with autism was it a little bit harder learning all these things to do on your own?
I'd say some of it, not very many, because that paying bills is so basic. It's super basic to pay your bills. Whether you're rich or you're poor, you can do it. And so anyway, now even when I moved out of my parents' home at the age of 18, you also feel like you may have lots of freedom to do whatever you want at home and go wherever you want to go. Yeah, it's good to have that freedom. And also, you may feel left out, and you could pretty much say alone, and that can be a happy thing, or it can be a sad thing. It's pretty tough to say, because I have days where I want to be on my own, and there are some days where I just couldn't be alone. I wanted to visit friends or see my family. I have those days, and you'll think about that too when you get older. So pubs. So of course you drive around and you go by pubs around town all the time. Well, I'm going to talk about pubs now for a minute here. So pubs have great food. It's like a restaurant, so they do serve delicious food. Some pubs even have fun activities, which includes karaoke, music poker, music trivia, open mics, and so much more events. I like going to pubs that have karaoke because I'm a pretty good singer myself. And it's also a good place to celebrate your birthday. And when students turn 19, you can start going to pubs and celebrating your birthday, and that's what I've done ever since I turned 19.
Do you think that that's, so just for the class to know, sometimes for people with autism, social connections are harder. So sometimes it's harder to make friends, harder to know what the right thing is to say, harder to make connections. So I think are pubs a really good way for you to meet people and interact and
Yes.
social?
Yes. And that's pretty much one of the reasons why I became so well known, is really because I met so many people in pubs, not just for karaoke, but just randomly if I sit up at a bar, I'll meet someone next to me. And sometimes we have connections. And sometimes that's how people can get into relationships. Maybe. All right, so now I'm going to talk about traveling and vacationing alone. So like I said, I do like traveling. But of course, if you're going to take a vacation on your own, you must also be 19 years of age or older. The most difficult vacation I ever took was I went to Edmonton all by myself last September. I rode the train, the Via the Canadian, from Vancouver to Edmonton. It was definitely a very big and fancy trip. Even not just a train ride, but I got to visit what they call West Edmonton Mall, the biggest mall in Canada. It's huge, and there's an indoor amusement park. If students have never heard of that place before, it's called Galaxyland. I had so much fun, and it took me a lot of hard work to make that trip very successful. And the more common places I like to visit is anywhere in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, anywhere in the Metro Vancouver area. I really enjoy visiting because there's lots of trains that go through the mainland, especially in New Westminster, every single day. Okay, so coming out and identity. So for many people who are autistic like myself, they may question their identity. And some of them may also find that they feel more comfortable in the LGBTQ plus community. Now, I am a person that supports the LGBTQ plus community because I am a person that's into different people than what most people are. And June is Pride Acceptance Month, so I take part in the Pride events every year. And I have been in the Pride parades in town since last year, and I'm hoping to join in the Pride parade again this year. It's a great group of people to connect with, and maybe one day you might take part in the LGBTQ plus community when you're older. Maybe. It takes time to think about it, but I didn't learn much about that until I was almost 18 years old. So mixed emotions. So there were a few times in the past where I've had nights where I almost decided to take my own life, it was a very emotional time for me. But the reason I actually didn't do it was because I realized that a lot of people I know really care and they accept me for who I am. And people have told me before, people need me. And I even said that for a while to myself to help me not think about that anymore. And I also realized too that people need you as well. So it's not just me that people want, it's others. And more importantly, we all need you. The teachers need you. Because you students are important people, because we want all of you to succeed in the school system, but more importantly, become adults after high school and doing your best as an adult.
And I think why you're talking about this too is that sometimes when Matthew was in elementary school and high school, having autism can be quite difficult because it does make learning things sometimes a lot harder. Things can be frustrating socially, and so it hasn't always been easy. And so it's just knowing that each person has sort of their own struggles that they go through, and sometimes things are hard, but sometimes if you persevere and you come out on the other side, like Matthew's got a great life, he's a very happy person, but what he's saying is it wasn't always easy.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, help and advice is always available if you ever feel like it one day. I never had to call for help, thankfully, but I have a lot of friends who really care about me and tell me to never do it again. And I'm thankful I don't have to anymore. So autism acceptance, and why is this important? So, of course, April this month is National Autism Acceptance Month. It promotes not just the education about the differences of people with autism, but also it understands and understanding and respecting those people too. And it's also a means to affirm and promote the full realization of all human rights and fundamental freedoms for autistic people on an equal basis with other people. And also to be better equipped to advocate for the rights and needs of individuals who are on the autism spectrum like me, and has a huge impact on the education and employment opportunities. So that way people with autism can easily find a job in their future.
And I think for a long time there was other words associated with Autism Acceptance Month. The autism community has chosen acceptance as the word they use for this month.
Right.
Because they believe that there's all different kinds of brains out there. So I think what the autism community is saying is that there are all different brains, all different neurotypes or ways of thinking, and that autism is not something that can be fixed. And actually, that's a huge topic in the news right now.
Yeah.
Because of some statements that were said down in the U.S. by a certain person that happens to be in government, and it was very, very, very insulting to the autistic community, saying that a person with autism needs to be fixed or cured. That isn't the case. There are all different people in this world, and what April is about is accepting people for who they are, not trying to fix them or cure them. It just means their brain thinks differently, but that's not wrong. It's not unnormal. It is perfectly normal for them.
Yeah, that's right. And there was a lot of people, I actually read that too, and people were spreading rumors on that. But of course, I can confirm that to you, that's not true.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the stages of autism acceptance. So there's 4 different types. There's denial, bargaining, anger and depression, and acceptance. Now, there are some people like me who may fall into those. There are some days maybe I could become anger and depression because sometimes I can get depressed pretty easily depending on what people say around me. But of course, I go through acceptance because I'm a person with autism and I accept people who are the same as me as well as people who support the LGBTQ+ community.
Were you ever in that, when you first found out or your parents told you you had autism, were you ever in that denial phase or angry phase?
I might have been because it's kind of a long story on that, but I did had to go to a counselor to make sure my parents were okay with it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a long story. So not everyone goes through these stages in the same order. Some may cycle through them multiple times. And sometimes it may take longer for some people to experience these stages. It does take me time to go through the stages in the same order. But I think, for me, I think I go through them multiple times. Okay, so just to finish off, there's two big questions I want you students to think about for a long time. First of all, what are your plans for your future after high school when you finish grade 12? And the most important one also is, how can you show autism acceptance in this school community? Those are two big questions I want you students to think about, because maybe these questions might help you in your future. So really think about it. Okay, so now is the time where if anyone has any questions on the presentation, now is the time. Yeah.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
The first question is it hard to live alone?
It's kind of hit or miss on that one, because if you really wanted to move out of your parents' home, for me it did take a bit of time to get used to it, and it was emotional for my parents the day I moved out. But it's kind of a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. I still question whether I should still live alone or live with roommates. I don't know. That's a tough one.
It might be personal, but why did you want to take your life before?
There were many reasons for this. I don't want to explain every single bit, just because I want to make it appropriate. But I've had times where I felt left out so many times, because, of course, I knew people who cared, but I've lost a lot of people over the years after high school. People I graduated with, some of them passed away over the years. So there's that, and then there were other times too where I wasn't sure if I would be able to get married, because I know a lot of people I know now at my age are now married. But it still questions me whether I'm good to just stay on my own or have a partner in life for the rest of your life. I've had that problem too, and I have people who care. I know a lot of people that love me for who I am, and that's the most important thing in my life. So I'm thankful I don't have to worry about that anymore, because I got that message. Yep.
What do you mean by take on your own life?
It's a deeper conversation maybe that you guys can have as a class possibly. Some people, taking your own life means that you don't want to live anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. Yep.
In the stages, what does bravery mean?
I think there's a word more mysterious. So there's denial.
So the 4 stages. Yeah.
So denial was one.
What was the word you just say the word again?
Greed.
So denial.
Let me go back here.
Acceptance, anger,
Here we go.
and
Bargaining. That's
Bargaining.
what you're saying.
bargaining means you're if I do this, then this will happen. But if I do that, then that will happen. And if I love somebody more, then maybe I will change. That's bargaining with yourself.
Yeah, I've been through that before. Like I've been in a relationship with 3 people over the years, and I've had that tough feeling too, because I think that's kind of circling back to when I talk about marriage. I don't know if getting married will improve my life, or staying where I am right now in life will. It's a tough one.
For everyone.
Very tough one. Do you have one?
I believe, but can you press the button, turn it on, like the singing fish on?
I don't think I put batteries in this, but I can show you it one more time.
Pretty loud when they sing.
Yeah, it feels good to collect these, because It's just a good decoration comparing to photos. Photos on the wall, I'm sorry, it's kind of boring. Do you have one?
Where did you collect the sinking fish?
So mainly in thrift stores, because I like I was saying in the presentation, I like to go to thrift stores. Any town I visit, it's the one thing I always like to do is go to thrift stores. And I like to call go fishing, because that's a singing fish, and I don't fish in the ocean or river. So I get most of them from thrift stores. Do you have a question?
I do have
The
a
teacher?
question. As a teacher, well, I've seen Matthew present many times.
It's great to have me come
I
back.
love it. Because on the weekend I was having my coffee line. Oh yeah, I gotta reply to EJ. I gotta get Matthew to come.
Yes.
Matthew really impresses me with his presentation skills, and this kind of fits with what we're doing. We just did a little presentation, and can you talk about the very first time you did your presentation, if you have a minute?
It's a very
Big assembly.
Yeah, it was a big assembly. The very first assembly I did in a school was at Rock City School for Autism Awareness Day. It was a full school, like kindergarten to grade 7. And I wasn't sure if that dream I had would ever come true. And it did. And that's how I got to meet Mrs. Boyd. And we're still connecting to this day, 9 years later. It's a very great experience, and I'm hoping to continue in more schools soon, and I'm very happy to be back, and this is the first school that gets to see this presentation in real life too.
We feel lucky. I have to say, Matthew, what you talk about, I know that it's Autism Acceptance Month, but everything you talk about, it applies to everybody.
It does. It really does. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the presentation is it doesn't get much attention as it used to be, or hardly ever at all. Every school is very different, but it's just not being heard.
So just to make a connection, so Maya, in May, what are we doing in May? It's very similar to what you're going to be doing. What are you going to be making people aware of in May?
The celiac children.
Children that have celiac disease.
Okay,
So
wow,
Maya is actually
okay.
doing a presentation. I emailed Mom on the weekend, just like you, to create awareness.
That's great. Yeah, congratulations.
And actually, we have several kids in this school that are celiac.
And Maya, anyways, it's another topic, but Maya's mom said that she is open to doing a presentation to bigger groups besides just her class.
That's great. Very good.
So we will have to be sensitive of the time. We have about 2 minutes.
Okay, one more question then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, you have a question.
Is a singing fish your favorite animal?
I would say it's a pretty decent animal because I'm not allowed to have pets in my place, and I don't like dogs. But fishes, the way I know that my fish are sick is when my batteries run low on the fish. If it sounds off key, you know it has the flu. Yes, that like that. Okay, well,
What do we say?
thank you very much.